Hello and welcome to this review of my IBM Model F XT keyboard. I bought this one as well as 4 others off of eBay using proceeds from a Moltron keyboard I had sold. I called them the Moltron 5 collectively. This one was by far the most expensive of the 5, but at £55 including shipping, it's not too bad a deal I guess, as it's in pretty good shape. And it's actually a UK model too. Look, a pound sign. I did do some tinkering with it though, and we'll get to that in a bit. This keyboard is well known because it came with the PC, and when I say that, I mean the real PC, the IBM personal computer, as the metal logo plate reminds us. The IBM PC was released in 1981, so we're talking some pretty old stuff here. This computer cost a small fortune when it first came out, and you didn't even get a hard disk with it. Although 2 years later, they brought out a model which came with a revolutionary 10MB Winchester hard disk, the PCXT, which this keyboard was named after. This keyboard is pretty much the granddaddy of buckling springs keyboards and was made to impeccable standards, which IBM could afford through the towering prices they demanded for the systems it came with. It's fucking heavy as a brick, over 2.6 kilos. In fact, I'm not even exaggerating, it's even heavier than a brick. What the fuck? And it comes with a metal back panel as well as a metal back plate and a metal barrel frame, and the top case is a massive chunk of plastic. Quite tough indeed. One of the few weak points are these ears, which are used to control the flip-out feet, which are spring-loaded by a coil spring that's so strong I haven't been able to get it out yet. The ears jut out a bit though, and you can commonly find these with one or both ears broken off, but this one still has both intact fortunately. The other weakness is that the material IBM used as a spacer between the barrel frame and the barrels is a mat made out of foam, which of course inevitably rots. As it happened, the faculty workshop had some 3mm foam mats lying around that I could use, which I cut holes into using a hole punch. And unlike the Model M, which has those stupid plastic rivets you can't replace, this uses metal tabs, which don't require any modding to replace. So now it works brilliantly again, and because these clean up very well overall, it now looks almost like new again. The cable is a massive thick black coils with a 5-pin DIN connector on the end. It feels solid as a rock, and it hasn't even become sticky or attracted much dust at all. Note that unlike the later Model M, the cable is not detachable though. The keycaps are similarly well made. They're thick one-piece PBT with what I can only describe as by far the best dye sublime legends I've ever seen. Usually dye sublimation is either not all that dark or a bit fuzzy around the edges, but these are neither. The color is thick and bold and the edges are super sharp. These caps are really in a class of their own. Of course, PBT doesn't whiten upon exposure to the sun, but dye sub printing can bleach slightly over time, presumably also because of sunlight. You can't see it at all from a distance, and I'm not sure how well the camera is picking it up, but from close up you can just make it out. An unfortunate slight weakness of dye sub printing. One well-known issue with this keyboard is that the stabilizer on the spacebar, the only stabilizer in the board I might add, adds a lot of force needed to press the switch, so the spacebar is very stiff. You can bend it outwards a little to mitigate it, but I chose not to. I kinda like it with that quirk, gives the spacebar more of a presence. As stabilizers weren't really in fashion yet at the time, IBM opted to use stepped keys like these instead, which more or less forced you to hit it in the middle. Stepped keys like this look really alien to most people now, as does the bizarre layout, which actually became the standard keyboard layout afterwards. Now I grew up in the 80s and in fact with an IBM PC XT, so to me it's not the weirdest thing in the world, but my younger viewers especially will probably be a little baffled by this layout. The nav cluster hadn't been invented yet, so you had to toggle between numbers and nav commands like home, page up and delete with the numlock key, for which there is no lock light, and it only had 10 F keys and they're on left side of the keyboard. In fact, the whole layout looks hilariously antiquated, and in fact it is, but believe it or not, with some practice it's actually not that bad. All the keys are still there, you just need to look for them, and as it happens, I find this a lot easier to get along with than a 60% layout actually. As I'm sure you've gathered by now, this uses buckling spring switches in its original form, IBM's capacitive design, which is widely considered to be superior to the later membrane-driven buckling springs in the Model M. They feel a bit lighter, around 60 grams of force, and they feel crisp and smooth to the extreme. And because the mechanism is capacitive, it has inherent N-key rollover, unlike the 2-key rollover on the Model M. It also has a much higher expected lifetime, as much as 100 million key presses per key, 4 times as much as that of the Model M. The sound is much more extreme than on the Model M, and much louder, more pingy and more metallic. Not everyone likes it, or its sheer volume. Let me give you a quick sound comparison. Here's what the Model F sounds like. And here is what the Model M sounds like. Much more subdued. But I'm one of those guys who thinks it's not a proper keyboard if you can't hear it from the other side of the floor, so it's all good by me, although most others don't share this view, so I can't actually use it at work. A persistent rumor in the keyboard community, one of many, is that among the Model Fs, the XTs is the best feeling, as it's the oldest. And I have a Model F122 from as late as 1986 to compare it to, my trusty battleship that I reviewed ages ago. But I have to say, I don't really feel a noticeable difference between the two. So, if there is a difference at all, I'd say it's insignificant. Concluding, this keyboard is quite superior to the Model M in almost every way, with the exception of a rather major point, the layout, which on the M was so good that it's still the standard, even though it's 30 years old now, and on this is so weird and outright alienating that unless you're an ancient keyboard-loving fossil like me, it will probably frustrate the hell out of you for a good while. But if you can get used to it, you're rewarded with some of the best switches, caps, and build quality ever put on a commercial keyboard. That's it for this review. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. And following is a typing demonstration of me typing on this keyboard.